Ukraine says its troops have caught occupying Russian troops in a trap in the shattered eastern city of Bakhmut, where its forces have been gaining ground as part of their counteroffensive. Russian accounts of the fighting said Moscow's forces have repelled or contained Ukrainian advances in the east and south. More than 500 days into the invasion, Ukraine's counteroffensive that began early last month has focused on capturing clusters of villages in the southeast and moving in on Russian forces holding Bakhmut. Officials on Monday noted advances in both sectors. The enemy is caught in a trap, General Oleksandr Syrsky, in charge of Ukraine's ground forces, said bluntly on the Telegram messaging app. The city is under the fire control of our defense forces. The enemy is being pushed out of their positions. In the south, General Oleksandr Tarnovsky said on Telegram Ukrainian forces were on the move and Russian forces had lost the equivalent of hundreds of men over 24 hours. President Volodymyr Zelensky has said the counteroffensive, boosted by supplies of sophisticated Western weaponry, is proceeding more slowly than Ukraine had hoped. Military analysts say Kyiv wanted to point to at least a degree of success to leaders attending the NATO summit in Lithuania starting on Tuesday. The Russian Defense Ministry said its forces had repelled Ukrainian attacks in 3 areas of Donetsk region, including Klishchivka, the focus of clashes in recent days near Bakhmut. The ministry also said Russian forces thwarted Ukrainian attacks in the south, including near the village of Rivnopil, which Ukrainian forces said they captured 2 weeks ago. Ukraine's Deputy Defense Minister, Hanna Maliar, said on Telegram that over the past week Kyiv's troops had taken back 10.2 square kilometers of territory in the south and 4 in the east. And the Ukrainian military said its troops had retaken 169 square kilometers on the southern front and 24 around Bakhmut since the counteroffensive began. Military expert could not verify the situation on the battlefield, and Russia has not acknowledged Ukrainian gains. Moscow says fighting has been heavy since the counteroffensive began. Its forces still hold swathes of territory in eastern and southern Ukraine following its full-scale invasion on February 24, 2022. Ukraine also reported new Russian attacks on civilian sites. An attack on a humanitarian aid distribution point in the southeast killed 7 people, emergency services said, and 2 people were killed by Russian shelling in the east. Russia denies targeting civilian areas. Earlier, President Zelensky said the majority of NATO members stood together with his country, and the Vilnius summit must confirm that Ukraine is a de facto member of the military alliance. The majority of the alliance stands firmly with us, President Zelensky said in his nightly video message. When we applied for membership of NATO, we spoke frankly. De facto, Ukraine is already in the alliance. Our weapons are the weapons of the alliance. Our values are what the alliance believes in. Vilnius must confirm all this. Ukrainian Deputy Defense Minister Hanna Maliar reported that the Ukrainian armed forces have carried out successful attacks in the south and east of Ukraine. According to Maliar, over the past week, the Russians launched 39 missile and 334 airstrikes on Ukraine. At the same time, in a week, the Ukrainian armed forces liberated another 4 square km of the Ukrainian territory in the east. Maliar said that in the east, over the past week, there has been an increase in the number of enemy artillery attacks to 7,184. Russians fired 343,402 artillery rounds and missiles. In Bakhmut, for several days, our defenders have been keeping under fire control the roads in and out of the city, and also the movement of the enemy around the city. This became possible during an offensive when our troops took control of the main dominant heights around Bakhmut, the Deputy Defense Minister said on her Telegram channel. As for the situation in the south of Ukraine, according to Maliar, over past week in certain areas, the Ukrainian troops advanced deeper into the Russian defense lines. The total liberated area since the beginning of the offensive is 168.6 square kilometers. During the past week, the Ukrainian forces liberated 10.2 square kilometers. At the same time, over the past week, Russians carried out 4,318 artillery attacks in the south. Meanwhile, the U.S. controversially announced today that it would provide cluster munitions to Ukraine, despite concerns from Western allies that the weapons could endanger civilians. Ukraine has been asking for the weapons for months amid an ammunition shortage. Cluster munitions, which are banned by more than 100 countries, contain multiple explosive bomblets. Joe Biden said he had decided to send the munitions because the Ukrainians are running out of ammunition.
После этого обнаружили цель, которая была поставлена.
Обнаружен наблюдательный пост противника, готов передавать координаты, как принял прием. Наблюдаю.
По этой цели отработали 82-й. Первый разрыв рядом, второй разрыв попал в цель. После чего цель была поражена, осуществили отход.
Цель поражена. Начинаем отход. Как принял?